Hello, I'm Janna, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. Today is day 9 of Craftmas, and today we're going to be having so much fun with this year's Stamptember set, as well as some of the beautiful Distress Mica spray stains. If you'd like to see which other supplies we're going to be using, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. Today, we're going to be creating with this year's wonderful Stamptember stamp set. I absolutely love this set. It has got such a feel of whimsy and all the wonderful holiday vibes. So, I don't get to say this too often, but today is going to be a first for me. We're going to be creating a slimline card. I've actually never done this before, so I am really excited to be creating one. Now, the measurements that I have are 7 inches by 8.5, and we just folded that in half, and I've also cut out a holly piece of paper, and this is just going to act as a mat and a background for our card. And I cut that approximately 1/2 inch shorter than the original card base on each side. So this is from this year's Tim Holtz Ideology Christmas backgrounds, and we're just going to be attaching that with some ATG tape. I love all of these patterns. There are just so many good ones, but the holly one really was giving me some great holiday vibes. So with this stuck down, that is going to complete our card base, and we're just going to be setting that aside, and then we're going to be diving into all of those fantastic stamps. Okay. Definitely liking the base. Nice and simple. So with the stamps, I absolutely had to focus on the super cute Santa, and we're going to be using those little presents as well. The first thing that we're going to do will be to stamp these out on some Distress watercolor cardstock. And I'm thinking I'm going to stamp those little presents at least 4 times. That way we're going to have some props for our card. Now, of course, for stamping, we're going to be pulling in some Distress Archival black soot and a stamping block. So we're just going to take our stamp pad and tap that right onto the stamp. And that will give us a great foundation that we'll be able to use to add some color to these fun pictures. Okay, just taking that and placing it right onto the watercolor cardstock. Good for impressure. And, of course, we will now have a wonderful stamped image. And that's Santa. He is just too cute. Absolutely love it. All right, let's go in and we're going to stamp out the presents next. And again, more ink, tap, tap, and now stamp. I am being pretty mindful of keeping a margin around each of these images because there is a wonderful coordinating die set that goes with this year's Stamptember set. And we're going to be die cutting out these images after we have all of our stamping done. I was so excited when there was a coordinating die set this year. Simon Says Stamp was able to create its own unique die set to go with these stamps. That is just too fun, and that was such a wonderful surprise this year. Fussy cutting, I don't mind it in the least, but if I've got a die to use with something, then absolutely, I definitely want to use it, and it just gives it a way neater and uniform look. So now I'm going to be pulling in the Distress Mica spray stains, and we're going to do our painting before our die cutting. I love the idea of putting all of those mica spray stains into the alcohol ink tin, and it was really awesome that Ranger was able to supply us with these empty bottles that we could decant the mica spray stains into. This is so much easier for when you want to watercolor. You can just take the bottles that you want and drip just a teeny tiny bit of the mica spray stain off to the side, and then just dip your paintbrush and you're good to go. So now, of course, the fun part, choosing all of the colors that we're going to be using. So today, the colors that I'm thinking of are going to be including Hocus Pocus, Harvest Moon, Tart Cranberry, Juniper, Tree Lot, Wicked Elixir, And I believe we'll also go with some decayed, and that should give us a nice festive spread of colors. And of course, we're going to be painting all of these beautiful colors onto our cardstock with a Ranger Fine Detailer water brush. Definitely my favorite water brush because of the even distribution of water and flow. So we're just going to go ahead and paint some of these in, and then we will be kicking things on fast forward. The shimmer from the mica is just absolutely magical, and that looks so good as we're putting it right onto our paper. And the nice thing is that super shine and sparkle is going to be there even after we're done painting, because the mica is just going to pop and sparkle even when it's all dry. When watercoloring with distress mediums, I like to start at the outside of my images and work my way inward. That way I can work around the fussy bits of detail before coloring in the more centerpieces. Oh, that tart cranberry is just such a good color. I'm really enjoying it. And that was from last year's mica spray stain release. So we're just going to keep continuing working around the Santa Claus, and once we're done with the tart cranberry, we will move things forward and add in some more wonderful colors. That fine detail brush definitely gets into some really small spaces, so I am really happy to be using this on this project. All right, let's go ahead and put things on fast forward. Here are our completed watercolor images, and those are so shiny. Definitely very happy with that. Okay, now the die set. Again, I am so excited that Simon Says Stamp was able to bring us a matching die set for this year's Stamptember set. That is just going to make our life so much easier when we die cut our images. Now, for die cutting, I have a Sizzix Switch Plus, and we're going to be using that to die cut everything. Now, I am really thrilled with the die cuts. They line up so nicely around the images. Now, let's take a look at what we got. All right, so we're bringing back our background, and now let's take a look at what we die cut. And look at that. We have a nice, tidy border going around all of the images that we have just watercolored. Now, for constructing this card, I wanted to give each of the images just a little bit of lift. So I'm going in with some foam squares from Simon Says Stamp, and these are some of the minis. These come in a couple of sizes. And we're going to start with the focal point of the card, which would be the Santa Claus. So we're just going to stick him right in the center. Perfect. And that matches the holly in the background so well. Definitely really happy about that. Okay, so we also have the presents, and these are also going to get some foam squares. But before we jump into that, I wanted to pull in Scribbly Christmas CMS 249. And we're going to add a couple of Christmas trees into our background. And to do this, we are going to be working with some embossing powder. We'll be putting the stamp right onto an acrylic block, and I'm pulling in the embossing dabber to add some embossing ink to our stamp. And then we're going to be stamping right onto our card base before we bring in the embossing powder. So just taking our block, turning it over, lining it up, good firm pressure, and there we go. That would be image number 1. And I wanted to put the exact same tree on the other side of the Santa as well. So inking again and stamping. There we go. We've now got 2 trees ready for the embossing powder. So we're just going to pull in some scrap paper. I've got the Ranger Gold embossing powder, and we'll just sprinkle that right onto the card front before we emboss. Okay. Just tapping that out just a little bit. There we go. And give the side of the card a little tap. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side. Sprinkle the embossing powder. Give the side of the card just a little tap. And let's turn that. There we go. We can see the embossing powder. We've got a nice clear image. So we'll go ahead and put the extra powder right back into the jar for future use. And now I can pull in an embossing tool. For the embossing tool today, I'm using the Sizzix embossing heat gun. I love this. It's got 2 different heat levels and super easy to use and heats up nice and fast. So we're just going to emboss these 2 stamped trees. Ooh, I love the transition from powder to shiny gold finish. So pretty. And of course, we'll do the same thing to the other side. Let's see if we can't get that transition. Yep, there it goes. From powder to beautiful gold. That is magic every single time. Okay, those trees look really good. Ooh, that's shine. Definitely loving the gold on there. Okay, so next we're going to be pulling back in the presents that we die cut and stamped. And I'm just going to be using a few foam squares to pop them up as we place them around the trees and the Santa Claus. All right, so we're going to place one on the far right. We'll place another one right next to Santa on his left. Let's see, next one, place far left by the tree, and one more next to Santa on his right. There we go. Definitely happy with this composition. We've got a nice balance. We've got some really festive colors going on here, and we've got all sorts of shine and sparkle between the embossing powder and the Distress Mica spray stains. And we even have a little bit of height and level variation since we added those foam squares to our die cut images. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And we'll just keep on going down the line, taking off the little backings from the foam squares before sticking those presents down. Okay, and one more. All right, there we go. And let's stick that last one onto our card front. I'm really enjoying the Slimline card. I have not yet made one. I don't know why, but I'm really glad that I took the time to make one today. Now, finishing touches. So I'm pulling in the Ideology Christmas label stickers. These sadly have been discontinued, but I've got a really good stash of them, and I am planning on using them up because they are fun and have a nice vintage retro vibe. So the stickers that we are adding today include Just Believe and December 25th. Okay, just lining that up. Oh, I love the texture on the label stickers. This is our completed card. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner for day number 9 of Craftmas. Today, we got to have fun with this year's Stamptember stamp set and matching die set. We also were playing with Distress Mica spray stains and some embossing powder. I hope that you've enjoyed the creation of this fun, festive Slimline card. And until next time, happy crafting.